Welcome to the Rubber Onion Animation Podcast. We're fueled by an active community here, so if you want to participate, Rubber Onion is one word, I'm everywhere, and the hashtag is Rubber Onion Podcast. Use those and we'll see you. Everything else you can find on the website. I'm animator Stephen Brooks. I'm the Rubber Onion. My co-host is fellow animator Rob Yulfo. This is a review episode. Let's do this.
I'm Don Bluth.
I'm Harry Partridge.
Hi, I'm Tom Moore, teenage superhero.
My name's Adam Phillips.
This is Robert Valley.
And I'm in no way doing a forced plug. No, sorry. I won't say that.
And you're listening to...
Two, one,
go.
Fantastic.
Lunchtime.
It's actually kind of. I got to be honest. It is lunchtime, but this is not a lunchtime episode. This is a.
This is a regular.
I know. So here's the weird thing: we are recording this during lunchtime, but it is not going to be a lunchtime episode because we only have so many hours in the day. You're working. I'm working. The amount of time that we have to actually record is limited, and we just released the Spike and Cat interview. We have another interview. I just don't want to put those two interviews back to back. Yeah. So we got to put another episode in the middle, and it's been a while since we've done an episode.
Much like meat in the middle of a sandwich that you would have for lunch.
Yeah, sure. That's weird. But yeah. So I guess you know what? Let's start with how you doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw away this granola bar then. Who needs that?
Did you have stuff for lunch? Like, were you hoping this was a lunchtime episode so you could eat?
Oh no,
this is during your lunch.
I had a good breakfast.
Do you actually eat during your lunch break? I'm curious.
I mean, not really. I just been, snacking.
In the office, for instance.
Yeah.
It is sometimes it's difficult. You can eat lunch and you can work at the same time. A lot of the stuff, especially in animation that uses computers, all you really need is just you just need one hand to click something to render or something like that, or to do some management stuff, some time management stuff. You can always kind of multitask. So as a director, I don't really have an explicit time where I take lunch. So I rarely actually take lunch. I'm eating lunch at my desk because I'm working through lunch. Well, my team has a staggered lunch. So some people take it at this time, some people take it this time, and I need to do things to set up in order so that their things are ready when they come back. Yada yada yada. It doesn't matter. Yeah. The point is, when you're on site, it's more difficult to take lunch at your desk and then use your hour lunch break or whatever to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Than it is to do it at home. And I think that a lot of people are doing that now. They're taking their lunch breaks whenever they want. They're taking a meal break whenever they want because nobody sees them. So as long as they're not directly in front of the computer, and as long as they're getting a decent amount done, they'll just take breaks whenever they want. And their hour break is no longer a lunch break. Now it's just a break. So I think people sit down and they have a snack maybe and play a video game, or they watch TV or something like that. But it's not like a lunch break anymore.
You know what's funny? If I do take a break, I'm working on another cartoon for myself, or just just kind of doodling,
Well, that's actually what I had been doing with my own, not as a break, but in between things. Like in the morning before work, I have to set up for work, and then during work, it's just on all the time. And then there's kind of a cool down phase where it's the end of the day and I need to do some bookkeeping stuff and set up for tomorrow. So even though the next day is setting up for that day, I have to do some setup the night before, make sure everything's good, archive stuff, get it off my computer, put it on the server, yada, yada, yada. I'm doing a lot of yada, yada, yadas, but that seems to be like a lot of what my day is. Nobody really cares about specifically what I do. It's just kind of, is it ready? is stuff ready? Is it done? Is it good to go?
Yeah.
But in the time when I don't have anything, and it's usually maybe an hour at night, now that I have my Chromebook, which has been awesome, by the way. I don't even know if I mentioned that on the podcast, but I got a Chromebook, and I stayed away from it for so long just because I was like, what's the point of getting like, it's going to be more expensive than I care to get. It's kind of like a tablet. Like, what's the point? I can draw on my graphics tablet, or I can draw on a piece of paper. Why do I need like an Apple pen and an iPad so that I can draw, on my bed, but like in a digital thing and then send it? I don't know. In my brain, I'm like, I don't need these gadgets, but I found myself emailing a lot and not wanting to be in front of the computer, especially during the crazy convention hours, which, for me was like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. The hours really sucked. So that was for like 2 weeks, and I still am not back on my sleep schedule. So I bought a Chromebook, and I started using that to do some, of the bookkeeping stuff, emails and things on Google Docs and whatever. Well, what I found was that I also can use that to rebuild my website. So that's what I had been doing instead of doing because I had an idea for the battle for this last month, and instead of doing that, I was rebuilding the website on Squarespace, because I'm getting real tired of WordPress, and they're constantly updating, and I built everything off of a template, and it's going to die soon. And so I was like, all right, I'll go to Squarespace, because the only way that would become a problem is if the entire company went under.
Yeah.
In which case, okay, I'll just rebuild the site someplace else. But like, I'm okay tying myself to the idea of, a big company staying alive somehow. I mean, the same thing works with my, it's more likely that company will stay alive than a template that I used on WordPress will continue to stay active through all versions of WordPress. So anyway, it doesn't matter. But that's how I'm spending my time, is like on my little Chromebook.
Yeah, it seems like, I don't know. I guess, is there anything like that for Mac? Because I feel like with Mac, they want you to just stay at your desktop and not roam around. I don't see any options.
What do you mean for Mac?
Just like a tablet that you can walk around and work off of, like, Flash.
You mean an iPad?
Oh, I guess. Can you use Flash and stuff?
Oh, you said Flash? Oh, no. But you can't do that on a Chromebook either. Chromebook is it's basically like the whole thing is built off of, Chrome. It's built off of the Chrome browser. It's just, you would be so surprised how much of your life is spent on a browser.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, because on there I have Slack, I have Zoom, obviously, I have Chrome, which has my email. It's got the website. I got Discord on there, obviously, for all things interacting through Rubber Onion. I said Discord already, but Patreon and all the stuff that's on browsers, and then I can also play video games on there, because Stadia is a thing that works well with Chromebooks, and GeForce Now is a thing that it's NVIDIA. They make graphics cards, and I guess they make other stuff too, but they have this thing that's called GeForce Now, and it syncs mostly with my Steam account. Steam is a place where you buy games. Remember when we played Cuphead? I bought that off of Steam, and that was on my computer. So now, I've got Cuphead's not available on GeForce because there's some sort of whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, I've been able to do things like I've been able to play games.
Yeah.
Like a little clamshell. I've been able to write emails. And, when you're done with work at like 6 a.m. after doing a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift, and I mean, I think I was really done around 5 something, and then I'm in bed, and I have my Chromebook open. I'm just typing away emails for like later that week, because all the emails that I got earlier on in the day that I couldn't respond to because of whatever. It's really one of those things that I think has increased my productivity by decreasing my frustration of having to be in front of my desktop computer the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not bad. What I got was the Pixelbook Go, which was like $600. It was basically like $700 because it was the cheapest version. It was, if anyone out there is wondering, I got the i3. It's the cheapest version. Man, it's got everything that I played. I played Portal 2. I played Hitman on there through Stadia and through GeForce. Like, it's got everything that I need, and more. Like, just to let you know, everything that I need for email and whatever. But also, I played some games on there, and it was real fun. It's not loaded on my thing. It's a streaming game, but anyway, that doesn't matter. The speakers are really good. It's only £2, and it's like a 10-hour battery life. That's what I wanted. It was just something. The keyboard, I'll tell you, the keyboard is like the best keyboard ever. It's actually really fun to type in. So that was the other thing is I wanted to type more. I know, right? I've wanted to write more, and because I used to write a lot. But I kind of actually stopped writing after writing the book because it just took a lot out of me. Which is funny because like I used to animate a lot, and then I kind of stopped animating also to write the book. And then it's been hard to like get back at it because, you know, I'm animating, doing animated shorts, and I have freelance, right? And then I have to basically stop animating to do the book. So I start the podcast, and then I pour everything into the book. And I don't want to write anymore because I wrote out my whole soul into the book. Like, I wrote out all of my writing energy into the book. And then my personal stuff has become the podcast, and basically everything Rubber Onion, including the battles and stuff. So I don't have the energy to do as much in terms of animation. Like, because there was also the videos, there was video reviews and stuff like that. So I'm just going to say podcast, but like everything Rubber Onion that was not animation related. And then the freelance stuff kicked off, and then I started getting, you know, on-site studio work, which takes up most of the time. So now it's that combined with the podcast. That takes up like all of my time, and then I have a little sliver for my personal time, my personal free time. There's no place for animation for my own personal needs and writing. So it's kind of just making things a little bit easier for me to write, a little bit easier for me to do some other things that are away from the computer. And that will hopefully lead itself into something being able to do some animation. It's all kind of like just trying to shift around the amount of hours that I'm spending doing these other things.
Yeah. People, while you're listening to this, you should at Chrome and maybe you know, do it enough times where they could sponsor us.
Do you think Chrome is a company?
Chromebook? Book Chrome? What do you call it?
Well, it's a Chromebook, but it's Google. Google is like
go to
the
Chrome
operating system. Go
to Chrome headquarters. I call it the Chrome Dome.
Yeah, let's back it up. Let's back it up real quick. I don't know if you hear that.
Oh yeah. Perfect timing.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of when we talk about like how you doing. That's it. That's how I'm doing. Obviously, a lot of what I'm thinking about is my time management, energy management. Working from home is not something that I'm not used to, but this is different. This is like I'm working from home, but I'm also running a whole team and, you know, directing a daily show. It's, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot to do that and then also find time for other stuff.
Yeah. I've been, you know, working, but work actually hasn't been as time consuming to me. Doing like freelance projects has been more like juggling freelance projects. Now it's just like, oh, I got a weekend to work on freelance, you know? And like, I became like, I think I'm becoming the kind of person who's like, when I'm not doing work on something, I feel like this like anxiety of like, oh no, why am I watching a movie? I should be working on something.
I mean, I feel the same way about, entertainment, just watching something for me, or also playing a game.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a deadline scale, number countdown in a corner of my.
Well, that always is working
life.
from home. We've talked about that a lot with freelance. Is that's the idea of working from home, is that the more time you take to yourself, it is like a ticking clock where you're like, if I spend all my time working on this, I'll finish it faster. And if you're charging by project, that means that you're essentially, the faster you get it done, the higher your per hour rate is. The slower you get it done, the lower your per hour rate is, because the entire budget for the project is the same. And I feel like the same thing does work to your in your brain when you're working remotely to a studio job that's on site. I feel like that's a very similar feeling. It's just not about the money as much. It's more about the time. Like, there's a certain amount of things that I need to get done, and the faster that I get this done, the faster that I get to, actually have time to relax and kind of call it. So I had a week off this week. We have like 5 weeks on, 1 week off, 5 weeks on, 1 week off, something like that. And so I had a week off this week, but I really only took like one day to myself. The rest of the time was doing things for Squarespace and getting the website up, and then putting together the battle talk, and then this, and editing. Oh my god, editing the Spike and Cat interview. Ooh, that was really tough, because you could hear in Spike's audio, you could hear everyone's audio. I think his headphones were up, kind of high or something. Or I don't know what exactly, but you could hear our audio, like yours and mine, and also Cat's. And in Cat's, you could hear Spike, but you couldn't hear us. So it was kind of complicated to figure out, okay, every time someone's talking, I need to cut out this person's thing and cut out this person's thing. And so once I had the whole thing edited, I had to go back, and each one of those individual cuts, I had to basically, I had to ungroup everything and either delete certain stuff or make certain parts silent and certain parts loud using the volume envelope, so that when someone's like, listen, they go, yeah, that part's not cut out. They still say yeah, but you don't hear the silence that was before. You don't hear the echo that was before or after. You just hear silence from their track. So, man, it was so complicated, because there's 4 different tracks, and 4 different syncs. Ugh, it was tough.
That sounds like a nightmare. I'd be like, well, no one's ever going to hear this if I was in charge.
Yeah, that was a tough one. But the episode came out pretty good. And like, I didn't really cut out anything from the episode. I really just cut out like ums and uhs and spaces and people repeating questions, stuff like that. Anytime that you not you, but anytime someone would ask a question or make a comment that someone wouldn't really hear, and they'd be, oh, I was just saying like this, and then they go, oh, okay, I get it, and then they would respond. I cut out stuff like that. That's just general flow. That's not any content of it. So I think we recorded for like a little over an hour. I think it was basically an hour was the thing.
Yeah.
And the show turned out to be like 50 minutes or something.
That was a lot of fun. I haven't had an alcoholic beverage in a while. Not like a serious amount of drinking. But I was so nervous that day that I pretty much downed a whole bottle of wine. And I was just like, this is great. It reminded me of like whenever we have any kind of animation event, we'll just kind of sit around a table and joke and stuff and talk about things. It was nice. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I think. I mean, that's what I always like about the interviews. I always try to tell people that this is a chat, like, because they always ask like, how long is it going to be? It's like 1-2 hours, like whatever you want to do. People usually are like, hey, let's keep it to 1 hour. But then when we come up to, like they said, I think the limit was I think they said 30 to 45 minutes is what they said. But then when we came out to the time, I was like, hey, we're going to, like, no, let's go. But I feel like people do that a lot. They always say, 30 minutes or an hour. And then we always keep going because, it's just a chat. And I feel like that's the success of an interview, is to make them feel like, okay, this is good. This is I can hang out for a little bit longer, and then you really get some like good stuff. That's why I always say, like, the good stuff really comes in like the last half of the interview.
I was thinking the other day, like, no one ever will have, other than us, we have a story of Don Bluth talking about being scared on Halloween as a kid. And, like,
that's true.
I don't think we get enough credit for that. Like, I feel like, I know it was supposed to be freelance horror stories, but just to get any kind of, like, personal question like that that's not related to industry talk, to have Don Bluth talk about, I forget exactly, I think somebody jumped out from behind the bushes and it startled him or something like that. But just to get just kind of stuff like that outside of whatever their career world is, it's always kind of unique, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that one, obviously it was in the freelance horror stories, but we asked and he just didn't understand what we meant by freelance horror stories, and he just said, like, his, like, scariest memory as a kid. So yeah, that was...
it was someone dressed as Satan. And that's what I knew. I was a man of God.
Well, that question too, when I was, it was supposed to be a fluff question. It was supposed to be like, is it really true that all dogs go to heaven? It was supposed to be a joke question.
Yeah.
And then he just jumps right into spirituality. It's like everything from.
Then he picked up
everything as a
chihuahua
spirit.
And put a gun against his head and said, "Let's find out." You have to cut that part out.
we were gonna I mean, okay, so this How You Doing segment, I guess all of our How You Doing segments lately are gonna go like 20 minutes because we don't really have a ton of time to talk. I mean, we spent 20 minutes before the show just talking.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so now here we are and we just talked about that. So anyway, I did have stuff that I wanted to say. So let's get into the show. Let's do that.
All right.
The show. I mean, I guess we could make this a How You Doing segment, but, or it's just a How You Doing show, but let's get into the show.
Let's show the show.
Do you remember what I wanted to talk about?
You wanted to talk about Primal, Undone.
Oh, you're just listing them all off. I was just saying that I had seen some
what
animated...
we've been watching.
Well, not really. Boy, you're really bad at this. I mean, yeah, what we've been watching, but... No, I had watched through a couple entire series, and then I had given some series some try. Remember when we had that joke about, now that we have all this time, we're going to catch up on animated shows. And the whole bit was shows that we wanted to watch, but we haven't actually given them a chance. We haven't actually watched them.
Yeah.
That was the whole joke. And now I actually did have, I think I had a week, and I spent a day... watching stuff on HBO Max, and so they have a lot of animation on HBO Max. And then I spent another day, or maybe it was 2 days, watching Undone. So I wanted to talk about those things, and I was curious: have you seen any? Have you spent any time like watching animated shows, animated series?
Yeah, I spent a day watching the rest of Primal because I had started, and I probably got up to episode 3, and then I just stopped. But,
so you watched 2 episodes of Primal? That's how you spent your day?
Is it? How many episodes is there?
5. I mean, well, there's 6, but I haven't actually seen the 6th, so we're only going to talk about the 5.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I watched it. I watched it over. Like I went back to
from the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Anything else?
No. I've been either working or just watch. Like all I watch are YouTube videos. Really, I can't dedicate myself to a series other than 90 Day Fiancé.
That's true. You do watch that a lot. All right. Let's start. Okay, let's start with Primal then, because you've seen that and I've seen that. Let's start with Primal. By the way, sorry to the audience. You're definitely going to hear that beeping in the background for
That
like the
truck-
entire episode.
Where is it backing up to?
Because it's almost like the Austin Powers thing where he's doing like the 20-point turn. It's just that this guy's trying to back up to one place. He's beep beep. He's like, oh no, I don't want that. And then he goes forward, and then he beep beep. Just keeps doing it over and over again. Just can't get it right.
Is that the name of this episode?
Anyway.
Back it up.
Back it up. So let's back it up. Primal.
Yes.
You had started it. You would watch, you said, like the first 3 episodes.
yeah.
Let's start with this. Why'd you not continue on to the rest of it? It was only 5. You were already most of the way through the show. Why did you not continue? You were 60% through the show.
It definitely wasn't that I lost interest. I think I wish I was like this with food, where I could start it and then just like, I'll save this for later. But I like with TV shows, I could just be like, oh, okay, that was enough entertainment right now. It was either that or I got inspired and said, oh, I want to draw now or something. There's usually some kind of interruption that stops me from binge watching something from beginning to end. So I'm almost.
But it didn't make you. So you watched those 3 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
And then you just, something took your attention away, and then you're like, oh, I'll come back to it, and you just never did.
Yeah, that always happens.
Okay.
And I guess they don't really like leave the door open for like a cliffhanger much. So I know that the next story is just going to be kind of a new adventure or something. Nothing.
Okay, so I'm going to say that for this, but not for Undone, but for Primal, we're going to have some spoilers, and I am going to tell you when we're going to have spoilers, and I will try to keep it to a certain time. Maybe I'll even make a mark as to when it happens, but we're not going to do spoilers yet. So first, we're just going to talk about the show, and then we're going to talk about some spoilers for people who've seen it before, because if you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it for you, the path that things take. It's not like when you talk spoilers in the show, I'd say that there's just a couple turns that I enjoyed witnessing, knowing nothing about the show at all, and I really don't want to take that away from anyone, but it's not like a mystery or anything. So I don't think it's going to ruin anything for you to know where it goes, because it really is visual. You have to see it. But for Undone, I definitely don't want to ruin it for anyone. I mean, that one is a mystery, actually. So I don't want to ruin that. So we'll talk more broadly about that. Plus, you haven't seen it. Yeah. So let's start with Primal. I think I said in that, we did bring up Primal in that bit on the show when we were talking about all the shows that we wanted to watch now, but we haven't.
Yeah.
And it's on HBO Max. There are 6 episodes in total so far. It has been picked up for another few episodes. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but that is definitely something that happened. I had only seen the 5 because 5 is on HBO Max, and I can't find the 6th anywhere. Apparently, it was a surprise. Apparently, they didn't tell anyone that there was a 6th episode. They just showed it on Adult Swim. And people on Twitter were like, oh my God, did you know that there was a 6th episode? They're airing it right now. And it just became a thing that people went crazy over.
Yeah.
I think it was like a Christmas episode or something. Not a Christmas episode, but I think it was shown sometime around that. I don't really remember. But I hadn't seen the 6th episode. I only seen the 5. So right from the beginning, I just went, okay, this is 5 episodes, half an hour each. It's easy. It's easy. It's basically like watching a movie. I could do that, like a long movie. So my overall feelings of Primal, it is a lot of screaming.
Yeah.
It's just It's just so much screaming, and it's kind of one of those things. There's a stereotype in some shows where there's like a fight or someone screaming and they just hold on someone screaming for too long, or they hold on a shot that's like a cool looking shot of maybe someone breathing or someone dripping blood or something like that while the camera's panning. And it's really just a fluff shot. It's really just like padding out the runtime. Like, you don't need to hold that long, but they're just looking for any place that they can hold for a long time because it takes a lot of effort to do animation. It takes like the longer you hold on that shot, that saves a ton of time on the images that you have to draw. So loops are great. Special effects like blood dripping off. You only have to design one thing, hand it to the special effects animation team, and then they just do like a whole thing. And you're like, great, you did this whole special effects animation thing. For the compositors to put it together, we'll just hold on for that entire 7-second, not loop, but 7-second thing of blood dripping off of something. That is a bit of a stereotype, and that's a bit of an annoying thing that I see in shows. This one happily avoided a lot of that. It, of course, has some of those trappings, but it avoided it for the most part. And the same thing with the screaming. Every once in a while, there's just like, that truck, man. Yeah, that truck is going to drive me nuts.
Makes me want to scream.
Makes me want to scream. So it's this. Can I just stop for a second and just look in the background? I'm saying, is Homer like beating up Bart? You have this Homer and Bart figure, and there's Homer is like just a bust. He has no legs. He's like dismembered from. So it's like Homer in a hole, and Bart is face down in front of him. And I can't quite figure out
it
if
almost
Homer...
looks like a Greek tragedy painting or something where Bart's just on the ground and Homer's like crying over his body.
Sure.
No, it's just laid out that way. Like I just moved it off of wherever it fell and placed it. But
there's a lot of screaming. It's a lot of moments where someone's either the caveman or the I guess a tyrannosaur. I don't know what type of dinosaur it is, but they're like yelling at each other. Whatever. They scream a lot. That's just the overall sense of the style. When you're watching it, you got to be used to screaming. You got to be used. You're going to see a lot of violence. You're going to see a lot of special effects, animated blood, and things like that. There's just a lot of things where something happens and he goes, and he gets really upset, and then he runs after a thing and then attacks it. And it's basically that over and over and over again. It's like the Incredible Hulk, David Banner going to town, and you just know like someone's going to make him mad, and then he's going to turn into the Incredible Hulk and just wreck things. That's what this show is.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was looking at that and saying like this would make this design and everything would be a great Incredible Hulk animated series.
It'd make a good Wolverine, I think.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Style-wise, I think it reminds me of two things. The beginning of, Johnny Quest, a little bit like design-wise.
Okay.
And the Max.
The Max, I did. You know what? The Max is another really good example. I think the Max is probably the prime example of just hanging on a shot for a little long time. They got away, instead of screaming, they got away with it with the narration.
Yeah,
it's just like hanging on a shot for a super long time while there's some narration that's happening, and
slowly
maybe
zooming in.
Yeah, exactly, and maybe some like light traveling over something. Just some type of special effects type of thing. That's a great example, actually.
It's funny. Like, it's a lot of times where you get someone tells you, "Oh, I have a gig for you." There's not a lot of dialogue, so it shouldn't be too difficult. I feel like that's almost worse because, like something like this, it's where there's no dialogue in it. You have to make up for it with some great animation.
Yeah.
So like. I feel like they do it in a way though in this where it feels like these are like something like this design wise and the way it's set up. It feels like almost like that's what the storyboard art looks like, and it
concept art.
Yeah, and it works with the animation because a lot of times you'll see designs like this in the story art in the storyboarding, and then like the payoff doesn't look as great.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. It does feel, it feels Mike Mignola kind of, the guy who does Hellboy, feels like that kind of, angular design. The proportions are, very much emphasizing the shoulders and the chest and things like that. It kind of slightly jagged, really, really hard shadows. So that's all style stuff. I think the animation works really well. Obviously, there are some scenes where you can see, like, there's a walk cycle here, or there's a cycle of he's sharpening something, or there's an expression. He changes his facial expressions. You can look at those and go, okay, I feel like that is animator A. This one's animator B. This one's animator C. Like, I can almost pick out which animator keyed that or animated the whole thing, because there are slightly different styles to, like, each shot. And I really wonder how the production was for the show, because it seems like an animator's dream. It seems like this is something that it would have been, the storyboard process was really fun, because it's just trying to convey some story beats without dialogue. But then there's also action scenes, right? So it's everything that a storyboard artist is going to want to do and sink their teeth into. But then there's also all these designs. There's monster designs, there's creature designs, there's backgrounds, there's tons of different. So all, like, the design team doing the characters and doing the backgrounds and, props and everything. I feel like even the design team had a lot of fun, and also playing with light, because they're going from they're outside, right? They're in like a jungle atmosphere. They're in a forest atmosphere, but they're outside. So there's different times of day. There's different weather. There's different environments. Sometimes there's a lot of trees. Sometimes it's water. Sometimes it's a desert area. Sometimes it's mountainous with snow. So they're all over the place. You get all of that. Then the actual animation, there's slow moments. There's times when you want facial expressions to come out. There's action moments. There's, it has everything that I think animators really want to dig their teeth into and go, or anyone who works in animation and go, I did that. That's in my reel. Yeah. That's just one of those things that I saw in general while I was watching. It's like, this looks like one of those things that you would want to, as an animator, you would go, I just really want to work on this.
Yeah, the designs are so fun, and they're not necessarily like too serious. There is a cartoony look to it, and it makes you think about the like kind of 80s style animation where everything was just like formatted and already set up. And I think that's what kind of bored me when I was younger, watching 80s action cartoons in the past. And so like I feel like something like this is the same, like, kind of seriousness, but the designs are so fun looking that I don't know, I can enjoy it. I wonder if it was drawn or something differently, would I be as interested in it, or does the design
Okay, well,
help?
let's talk about the story then. So the story is, everyone talks about Boy and His Dog, those kinds of stories but this one is actually, it's more like dog and dog, right? Because neither one of them talk. And both of them have, social interactions. So it's not really any one character, I think, that we identify with. I guess we identify with the caveman character more than the Tyrannosaurus one or the dinosaur one, just because, I don't know, he's bipedal. Well, I guess Tyrannosaurus is too, but like is, humanish. He's a human. The story is very simple. The setup is very simple. It's caveman, something bad happens, family is no longer there, he's kind of out on his own, and then meets up to a dinosaur who has a similar situation, and they form a kind of bond, but it's a tenuous bond where they're still they're still animals. They're still like there's a primal nature. I guess that's where the thing comes from. But there's a primal nature to both of them, where there's a feeling of family, the biological family, and then a chosen family or a chosen partnership, and also the conflict between the two of them. Seeing that, okay, we need each other. There's an anger and aggression that we want to take out on the world that is around us. We need each other to survive because we're alone now, but also we have nobody to protect anymore because they used to be the protectors of the family and they failed. And this was just a traveling story, a traveling bond that they had. There's no particular goal that they have. It's just like, we both need someone and you're there. And over the course of the episodes, you see them, obviously, they get close. They have conflict with one another. They save each other. They fail to save each other. All of this, and it culminates to a place where, are they kind of bound, or were they always just going to be too, primal to actually have a friendship? Was this a short friendship, or is this something that is actually going to end up lasting?
Yeah.
And they did it all with no dialogue.
Yeah, which is great. I'm
just
surprised.
actions.
I'm surprised no one's made a Good Dinosaur mashup with this.
I mean, I guess you could, but there's no dialogue. So, are you saying use the Good Dinosaur dialogue in Primal?
No, more of a
because you couldn't do it the other way around. You can't cut in Good Dinosaur into. I mean, I guess it depends. One way or the other, you're going to have to use the dialogue in the Good Dinosaur.
Oh, that's way
Primal.
more production than I was talking about. I was thinking more of drawing wise, fan art wise.
Oh, fan art wise.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. I thought you were talking about like a fan made trailer or something.
No. But well, I guess you could do that. But like this is how much I know that this how great it is story wise, and it's very cinematic, because it's hard to get my dad into animation. And I had it on, and usually when I'm watching something, he's like, "Do we have to watch this?" He'll make a joke or something, or like if I want him to see something animated, immediately his head goes all around the house, and he has to mention what's wrong with things. But he was like focused on what was going on. We were watching the episode with the it was snowing and the mastodon.
Oh, the mammoth. Oh,
mammoth.
The mastodon. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was so interested in the story and felt for the characters, and like he got so invested into the story. So like I knew, like, oh wow, this is a good this is a great show. If like my dad could get into it and see past that it's animated,
And that was a great episode too, because so each one of these kind of have a different tint to it. So in the beginning, there's just like long shots, like it opens with him. It's just a shot, I think, of fish in a stream, and then you see that he's spearfishing and he's collecting fish, and it really kicks off. There's a lot of moments like that where it's just, this is what I'm doing to collect things, and then it's punctuated by moments of just brutal action where like at any moment something's going to jump out, it's going to try to kill you, it's going to try to eat you.
Yeah.
And the only way that he can survive is just to scream a lot and to attack it with a spear or something. Or a lot of times he picks up like a rock or something, just like swings around, just uses it as a hard thing to swing it. It doesn't throw it. He just like, he breaks a lot of legs with that rock. He just like picks up a rock, like a boulder, and then just swings around kind of like a shot put, but doesn't throw it. He just like smacks a leg.
Yeah.
It's like, that's one way to do it.
There's a lot of eye smashing in here too.
There's a lot of smashing. There's a lot of smashing and punching, and it's very it's, I would say, like testosterone filled, but it's like in fighting in nature, right? I guess you could say testosterone fight, but it's just like watching a nature documentary when they cut to a thing and there's just animals that are fighting and you're just going, oh God, stop. Oh, this is like, in the beginning you're like, wow, look at how fast they are, look at how powerful they are. And then it doesn't take that long when you're watching a nature documentary to be like, oh, let it go, let it go, let it go. Oh God, stop it. It's brutal. And that's what they do a lot in Primal. It's just there's kind of like, yeah, there's action. That's fun. There's like an action scene, and then it just gets really, really brutal. Yeah. And there are some shots in here that are, brutal and sad. And one of my favorite episodes was a montage of just. So the dinosaur that he's with, obviously, is just going off of instinct. Right? You have him. He is having flashbacks a lot to his family. The dinosaur we don't actually see. I mean, every once in a while, I think the dinosaur will like recognize something, but it's really more immediate. But that dinosaur doesn't have any lingering feelings. It's an animal. It's running off of instinct. It's it's not like pining over its lost family, right? It's just, it happened. It was terrible. It was a terrible thing, but it's still alive, and it's just running off of whatever it is to stay alive. So when there is meat in front of it, it's going to eat it. When there is something that's in front of it, it's going to eat it. And here is this caveman who's like going through all sorts of effort to hunt a wild boar, to like attack something. And then here comes the dinosaur and just like grabs it out from him. He's starving. He's getting angrier and angrier that every time he has something, this stupid dinosaur that he's traveling with comes up and just keeps eating it until finally he just snaps. And they have it out. And they start like they fight with each other. And obviously this is a dinosaur, so it's really hard to fight it. Just like it's hard because he doesn't want to kill it, but he needs to eat. And it's like they needed to fight. They needed to have that thing for the dinosaur to be like, oh, this poor little thing, I've been like stealing all of its food. And so it does end up seeing him as a partner that's like, oh, I need him to be around also. And that's kind of the instinct. It's not like a higher thing of communication and partnership and yada yada yada. It's more yada yada yada. I don't know what's with my life now, but it's I really liked that because it was showing they're approaching things in a different way, and that dinosaur had no idea what it was doing to the caveman because it wasn't even thinking. It's just reacting to stuff. It's just like, this is what I do. Yeah. And you're not me. You're not like a thing that I need to protect. And then, then they end up forming a bond, and then it works the other way as well. Seeing like, oh, he can help me as well. Like we're better together. Just recognizing that naturally together. That's a really difficult thing to show with no dialogue. Like if you had dialogue, you would have that moment where he's just like screaming at the dinosaur, like, you're taking all my food, I need to, it's just screaming at him. It's like, why won't you, can you understand me? You'd have that kind of moment. But since neither one of them can talk, it's all played out through the actions. You know what he's feeling. You know how frustrated he is. You know that he's like, well, I can't really do anything because it's a big dinosaur, and and he's not a natural like killer. He can't just like attack the dinosaur that he likes until he gets primal, until he gets like this rage in him. Then he's like, all right, I have to fight to survive, and that is the only time that he can take down big creatures, is when he has to fight to survive. It's great. Sorry, there's my little monologue about the thing. I really like that episode because I thought that showed so much strength in the storytelling, where by the end of that episode, not only did I understand each one of their motivations, as simple and instinct-based it was, but also I understood that their bond had now grown. And that's a really difficult thing to do as well, peppered in along all this action and fighting stuff. It's a bit too much blood. It's a bit too much screaming, but it's what he wanted to do. He wanted to show
It's Primal.
crazy violence, and it's Primal. So it's like, okay, well that's what he wanted to do, and I think it was smart because that's probably the only way he was going to get people to watch it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the trailer itself was screaming and blood and violence right off the bat. I'm surprised like something like that I got greenlit, because just to have no dialogue or anything, it's kind of something that feels classic but new at the same time,
That is the thing. It's I think the reason it feels classic is because it's just using those kind of time-honored storytelling techniques in animation, where it feels like this thing could have been inked and painted in a classical way. It does have kind of a rougher on the edges. It has a very xerography type of feel to it, where it's more about the drawings themselves as they come to. It does also feel it feels comic booky in the outlines and the drawings and the textures. So style-wise, it's really great, but also storytelling-wise, just from an animation standpoint, for any animator, I would recommend watching it, just because it has really great storytelling that way. And you brought up that the Woolly Mammoth episode, the Mastodons episode, where in the beginning, you spend your time with this one particular creature that is with, and a lot of it is dealing with packs. A lot of it is dealing with multiples, right? So you have the caveman and his family, right? You have the dinosaur and her family. You have which do they have names? Yeah, Spear and Fang. Sorry. Oh. Yeah, apparently, yeah, Fang. So, I guess Fang is a tyrannosaur. I guess. Sure. So you have Spear and Fang. Spear is the caveman. Fang is... I'll call him that. I should have looked that up beforehand, but I just wanted to... Whatever. Fang and her family. Then you have this much bigger type of dinosaur and its family. Then you have these, like... You have various pack animals. Running ones and flying ones, and they encounter... It's not a spoiler to say anything about snakes, because one of the titles of the episode is like River of Snakes or something like that. So there's all these like snakes there. And so each group has like a different dynamic among... Some work together really well. Some of them are just like a group of them together that are just kind of swarm creatures. Some of them are like really, really family based. Some of them feel like an army. I feel like that is the idea of the show, is to show all these different animals and how they are as a unit, how they are as a pack. And so you see this one woolly mammoth. You spend a lot of time with it, and he's like losing the pack. They're losing the herd, and they're kind of wandering off. And so they think it's like, okay, easy pickings type of deal. But, it's a woolly mammoth. This is a knockdown, drag-out fight, and it really elevates the threat of what a woolly mammoth is to both of these characters, because obviously, eventually, you meet the other woolly mammoths that are there, and you see like 12 of them. You're like, oh my God, I just saw what happened with... And it's just like, it's really great storytelling, because it also increases the threat. It shows you don't know who to root for. And that's the thing, is that especially in some of these cases, there's a very clear, this is good, this is bad. And you can go like, okay, yeah, they need to die. But then there's other characters, I guess, in the show where you spend some time with them and you're like, well, I don't want that one to die. Like, yeah. I'm empathetic toward this character, but also my characters that I started with, my Spear and Fang, like I don't want them to die either, and they need to eat something. It's
Yeah. Especially that episode is those moments where you're kind of like, if you weren't following those characters throughout the show, and that certain moment happens, you'd be kind of like, oh, who are these guys? These are obviously villains. But it is watching like a nature show where,
right.
It's just nature, and what they're doing is to survive, and it's you feel sad for a certain animal getting attacked by hyenas, but like that's how nature plays. You gotta kind of just go with it. That's how nature plays. Why am I not narrating these Discovery Channel shows? It's the Lord of the Jungle, baby.
You're in the jungle, baby. You're gonna die.
Hey everyone, Stephen Brooks here, cutting into my own show to let you know that this episode is supported by listeners like you on patreon.com/rubberonion. If you like what you get from this show, you see value in it and want to keep it going, consider becoming a patron and get basically everything related to the podcast early and or exclusive, including our new podcastimation, which you get to see a full month early. It's like a subscription, but you get to pick the amount. The more you give, the more you get. The show can go on. Patreon.com/rubberonion. Check it out. As always, thanks for listening, and let's all meet up back at the forum on rubberonion.com. I'll see you there.
No, it's really great, and I will say, so that's episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, basically. Then you get to 5, and 5 was one of those where like you can't have episode 5 without watching 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you get to 5, I had no idea what to expect. You start off in this like utopia area, and it's great. You spend a lot of time there. And then obviously, is it going to stay that way or not stay that way? All I'm going to say is it gets crazy. Like, it gets slappy. It is insane.
Yeah.
But
movie,
but it works. Somehow it works, and I can't really talk about it exactly without talking about spoilers. So this is about the time where we're going to talk about spoilers, and I will make sure to put a time code in the description of this episode to avoid spoilers for Primal, to skip to the next story. So if you don't want to be spoiled, skip. You have time. Look at the description, pause it, skip to that time. And don't worry, I'll give you a nice buffer as well, so that the time will be in a space where if you get it wrong by a few seconds, you're not going to hear anything like too bad. So, okay, let's talk about episode 5 of Primal, because I haven't even seen episode 6, so let's talk about episode 5.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, episode 5 is called Rage of the Ape Men.
Ooh. Yeah.
So that should give you decent... I mean, even episode 4, I think, is pretty crazy, because episode 4, you're dealing with those, like, gigantic bat creatures, which, like, that... But still, that's kind of in the world of, But they are leading you to a crazier place, because that's the first time we also see, like, other cave people. And they're in a very different... They have a very different life than he does. They're very skinny. They're obviously in a land where food is very scarce, and they're living in a cave. Like, he comes from a place where he can fish and hunt and not in peace, but everything's kind of hard. But they're in a place where these bat creatures are just like killing and eating everything, and they're just trying to survive. So it's just a lot of screaming. There's that one character who looks like really helpless, and but they kind of lead up to episode 5, with episode 4 being this nuts horror movie-esque bat creature, and then gigantic tarantula type creature, and introducing that there are other like human-like characters that are in there. So by the time, and you see different levels of social interaction, right? That's why I'm saying, like, the whole point of the show, even those bats, I mean, those bats like need to come down, and they specifically pick up, they pick up the dinosaur with two of them, and they fly, you know, together and bring him in. And they have their cave. They have so both of them live in caves, and it's this kind of weird teamwork thing that's going on. All these different building societies, let's say. Then you get to Rage of the Ape Men, and they start off in this utopia, this oasis, and it's beautiful. You see Fang is playing with butterflies, and it's just this really fun kind of thing. And Spear is, you know, like, I'm having some fun with them. I'm just going to swim around and, you know, scare him and mess him up or whatever.
Eat fish.
What's that?
Eat fish.
Yeah, he does catch a fish. I think he throws a fish to Fang, like, hey, look how. Oh, and then also that was it. He's like, wait a second, I don't even need a spear. I can just like grab it. He's just grabbing fish. He's like, this is the easiest fishing I've ever had to do. And the look on his face is like, these fish are so stupid. They're not scared of me at all. Like I can eat. And he just picks it up. He's like, can you believe this? It's great. And then they're kidnapped. They're kidnapped by ape men. We say ape men because they do look like Planet of the Apes men, right? They look like Planet of the Apes characters, but they have a whole society. They have a religion. They're wearing like jewelry and stuff, and they are screaming, and but they're doing things in a way that makes it seem like, oh, they're communicating in a way. They have a language that we don't know and that he doesn't know, but they know. And there's an auditorium, and they're all sitting around like this is a civilization that is building up. And they have a whole thing that they're doing. And not only that, but they also have this weird potion that they've created, which turns one of them into like a super powerful, like bigger version of itself. Like it gets wild. And I think that is one of those like old versus new kind of thing. And especially someone who is really focusing on the survival of himself and his immediate family, his chosen family. It's just Spear and Fang like protecting themselves and protecting each other against these, religious, zealots that are in the form of, murderous ape gladiators.
Yeah.
But it gives another example of things that they are encountering, of creatures that work together. And they work together in a specific way. Not only that, but he has like a martial arts. Like they have martial arts. There's a specific fighting system that they have that they're fighting for dominance. And so that even raised the tension. It was like, oh, it was Primal, but now it's like what happens where they're definitely stronger than he is, and seemingly they are much smarter than he is as well. And they have like this magic. What is he gonna do? What's Fang gonna do?
That episode, I didn't even know the title of it while watching it, so I thought that the episode before was so intense that they just wanted to have an episode where they're just interacting with their environment, and it's just
honestly, that's what I thought it was. I thought the final episode was going to be that. I thought the final episode was just going to be them hanging out in this like nice oasis, just being friends. I was like, that's like that, because that would be a bold way to do it in a totally different way, or that they would be in this really nice place and like, one of them would see another of their kind, type of thing, and they have this chosen family. But which way do they go? Do they stay with this partner, this chosen family that they have? Do they stay with each other, or do they go off to their primal instinctual needs? And that was another way to go. So that's kind of where I thought that they were going to go, but then they were just kidnapped and thrown into this this like Mad Max, but Mad Max / Planet of the Apes. Like it's Thunderdome plus Planet of the Apes. In the world of Primal.
Yeah, the way they played it out too is great. Because I mean, as soon as he went in the water, I was just like, oh no, let's let's just, I feel bad for these guys because I always think about that with shows, like a show where there's always action. Like why not show an episode where something is just not, in between all the act. They have to be exhausted from fighting these flying creatures yesterday.
Yeah.
So like, but when it did happen, I didn't go like, oh man, but I did feel bad for them because I wanted them to have a day off from like having a
right, from murderous
fight.
rampages.
Just play it like so. I thought it was just gonna be a fun thing where they're showing that world, like the nice part of that world. Because so far, the world's threatening. They're threatening. Everyone against them is threatening. So, but it was nice to have that moment, even though it was. And they dragged it out for quite a bit. It wasn't like that was just like that happened, and then within 5 minutes later, that's when.
Did we mention anything about Genndy Tartakovsky, by the way? I don't even think we even mentioned his name. I think I just took it as I just took it that like Genndy Tartakovsky clearly. Everyone knows that he did the series. But obviously this comes from Genndy Tartakovsky and, of Samurai Jack fame and I guess Hotel Transylvania fame. And I guess he's going to still do Popeye. I don't know. But that's a...
Oh, while watching this, I was just like, this guy that made this cartoon was working on a Popeye movie. And like how... Even if if Popeye was hand drawn like that, and even taken serious like that, that would have been a great turn. To have someone who knows how to animate this kind of violence and fighting, being in charge of, but also having the respect for animation.
Yeah, totally.
Is great.
It did get some awards for the Primetime Emmy Awards, Outstanding Individual Achievement in Animation. Steven DeStefano for as a character designer, Genndy Tartakovsky for storyboards, and Scott Wills for art direction. And they all won. They were all nominated. They all won. So, it's good. It's a really good show. And also, I did look up, it was not Christmas, it was April Fool's Day. April 1st is when they released their 6th episode. I have no idea where it is or, like, where it's streaming or, maybe it's on the Adult Swim app or something. I don't know. I don't know where it is.
Was it really it? Because I know they did that with Rick and Morty once where it was an actual Rick and Morty episode, but then the second time was a false episode, but it was a full episode by another animator.
No, it's a full episode, like a regular full episode on its own, and it has been picked up. It was actually just announced only like a week and a half ago as of recording this. It was August 31st. It was announced that it was renewed for a second season. It will get 10 episodes, so 10 full episodes. Nice. The first season will consist of 10 full episodes. The second half of that first season is going to start airing October 4th of 2020. So we're getting a lot of Primal. So we're going to have 20 episodes total. There's only 6 that are out right now. The second half, I'm hoping that it's going to start with episode 6 in October 4th, because I wasn't able to see it. So hopefully they're going to start showing that. Hopefully it's going to be on HBO Max. We don't really know that yet. There's a lot of things that we don't really know. But October 4th, it's going to start showing the back half of season 1, which I believe is going to be 5 episodes. I believe it should start at least with episode 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm assuming the next year is when they're going to probably do the same thing. I'm just guessing that they're going to split it up into 5 and 5, but maybe they'll do all 10. I don't know. The last thing that I want to say is that he said, Genndy Tartakovsky said that it was inspired by Conan the Barbarian vintage pulp.
You were going to say Conan O'Brien?
Yeah, Conan O'Brien. Conan the Barbarian. I was reading. Did I pause in a way that made me think that?
Yeah, there was like a pause.
Oh no, the Robert E. Howard comics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah. So that's that, and welcome back everyone who you wanted to avoid spoilers. Hopefully they didn't click back here and get freaked out as we were talking about Genndy Tartakovsky and think like, oh no, they're still talking about Primal. I did say there was going to be a buffer, so don't worry. Anyway, we're about an hour in. We got one more thing to talk about, I guess. But I do want to mention first, before we move on, the other show that I started to watch, which was Close Enough. Have you seen any episodes of Close Enough?
No. I mean, it's only on HBO Max, right?
Correct. So, remember how excited I was for Close Enough? Because the animation looked pretty fun. And I remember you saying something like, I'm surprised you would want to watch this. I think because in the trailer, they like, you know, they went on a psychedelic trip or something like that. And you're just, I don't know, you just think I'm so much of a square that would like put me off from wanting to watch it. But no, it's just, it looked funny, and it looked like a fun thing with characters. And I think the thing that made me laugh was him just like patting her butt, just going butt cheeks, butt cheeks, butt cheeks. I thought that was funny. That's it. That's what made me want to watch it. But I saw the first 2 episodes. Now, there's one thing that I did not know about the show, which is probably the thing that I disliked the most. And that is, it is split into 2 distinct episodes. Each episode is 2 12-minute episodes. Boy, I think that was the wrong way to go. Because it really, I know probably part of the discussion happened, I'm assuming, based around what they wanted to do, which is they want to do some kind of fantastic type of storytelling where it's not real stuff. I mean, the first episode has their daughter like skateboarding around, or like, you know, just like around the house and doing these like flips and like crazy things, and in a way that like this kid would definitely die. And then I think there was someone turned on the air conditioning or something on high, and then they started to get sucked up into the air conditioner. They're all holding on for dear lives. And so it really sets it off like, this is the type of show that we are. This is not reality. This is just, you know, a hyper example of what these characters think reality is or whatever.
Yeah.
The premise of the show could be summed up as millennials trying to adult. That's basically it. It's two characters that have a child, but they themselves act very much like millennials who want to still be childless millennial, but they have a kid. Not that they don't like their kid, but they're just acting very childish.
Yeah.
And then they have a couple that lives with them that they are exes. They are not dating anymore. But they're still living together in the same house that they are living in. So it's that kind of stuff. It's like, here's a situation that exists for some people, and let's show that. Okay. That's about as best as I can explain it.
Yeah.
The second half of the first episode sees the mother character, let's say. I could tell you all of their names, but you're not going to remember. I mean, I could call them character A, B, C, and D, but let's just say, as far as the couple goes, there's the mother and the father character, and then there are the exes characters, the guy and the girl. Okay, so the mother character is getting really fed up that the father character is lazy, and she has to do everything, and so she starts going on these. She wants to like move out or whatever. They can't afford it. She goes on all these open houses to kind of like live the like I could never actually afford living here, but I just want to imagine that I could. So she goes on these open houses things. That's an interesting concept. That's an interesting setup. Then it gets kind of sci-fi like because she's in there. She meets this guy who also has the same type of feeling, and there's this girl who is there, and I think her parents are off someplace, and she's just kind of hanging out there waiting for them to come back, and they end up kind of forming like a TV sitcom family, and they can't open up the door. Like they try to open up the door and it's just static outside, so she can't leave. It's very Twilight Zone type of thing. And the guy goes from being like a brown hair guy to like when he's the TV sitcom guy, he's blonde hair, blue eyes, and it's the same guy, but it has this TV sitcom facade on it. And she's trying to reach out to her husband, the father character, to come get her. Anyway, cool concept, fun way to play around with it. Only 12 minutes. And it does get kind of crazy, but like, God, I saw that and was like, you could have done so many cool things with this if you had given it a full 26 minutes.
Yeah.
But they don't. It's the short version. It's the 12, 13-minute version. And that just frustrated me.
So you don't mind that it's not as grounded to reality then?
No, because that's what they wanted to tell. That's the thing that they wanted to do, and they set it up right from the first shot. So right from the first scene. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm in for it. Now I will say that I don't particularly like any of the characters. That's not to say that they are unlikable. It's just let's just say I'm not super interested in people that should definitely grow up and have more responsibility given the situation that they're in, and they just don't wanna. I don't really have a lot of sympathy for that kind of feeling. I also don't have a lot of sympathy for characters who are overly strict and all they care about is being by the rules and having, you know, being as responsible an adult as possible and taking the world in the shows. That kind of like martyr idea of like, oh, I have to do this. This is my burden. And like, okay, but you know, it's not though. You know that, right? Like,
yeah,
the world doesn't revolve around you whether you want to have fun your whole life or whether you want everyone to know how much how much you're keeping the world together by your niceness and how good and decent you are. Both of those things don't really interest me very much.
But do you think it has to be that way in order to see improvement throughout the seasons? Absolutely.
But that's the other problem of splitting up into 12-minute episodes and the fact that they are like kind of crazy is that for me, it feels like you're missing out on one of the cool things that you really, really could do, which is to grow your characters over time and give us an entire episode to really dig into them. It's kind of like as soon as you start getting into some of the good stuff, they're like, okay, we're done. Like, oh man, that would, and that's why I stopped after 2 episodes. Is that I saw the first one, I was like, okay, I really like that second episode. I didn't really like the first part. I have to say episode, but I didn't like episode 1A, but I did like episode 1B. Does that make sense? Yeah. That was that, and then you get into the second episode, and I think I liked episode 1A, and I didn't like, or 2A, but I didn't like 2B. I can't remember which one was which. But it was like, okay, like every episode. I mean, I guess the thing is, the way I thought about it was this: if you have one episode and you have one good half and one bad half, I'm always going to want that good half to have been the whole show, right? If you have one episode and it is 2 bad half episodes, then I just feel like, okay, well, you gave me one half one and you gave me another half one. I didn't like either one of them. It probably would have been better if you were to just spend your time focusing on one really good one, right? Or one, you know, instead of splitting it into 2 half measures. Or whatever. I just feel like I watch two kind of, half-ass stories, whatever. It makes me feel like watching two bad half episodes is a worse detriment than watching two bad episodes back to back. I don't really know how that relates, but it's big numbers, right? If in half an hour you can make me think that I watched two bad episodes, you know what I'm saying? You have taken away the view of that second episode, if that makes sense. You've taken away one of your viewings. And if I am an hour in watching two bad episodes, if I've already seen one other episode, I might maybe watch another one thinking that one's going to be good. It's going to take me longer to figure that out. Anyway, that doesn't matter. But if I also watch an episode and A and B are also great, then I'm just going to go, well, I don't want both of these great episodes to be cut in half. I want full episodes. No matter what you do, it is always going to make me go, I feel like I'm not getting the full thing, because you're dealing with adults here and it's marketed to adults, and they are adults who act like kids. But I don't know what I fail to see the wisdom in splitting it up into two kind of half episodes, like it were a SpongeBob show or something. You know what I'm saying? There's something about that for kids which are great, because you can tell certain stories and you kind of get in and get out. But in this one, I really wanted to see more, and I feel like it would have held me for longer.
Yeah.
But when I just saw two episodes, and I know that, all right, if I saw 4 episodes and 2 of them were great and 2 of them were bad, I'd probably still be watching. But I watched 2 episodes and 2 halves were good and 2 halves were bad, and I didn't want to keep watching. I don't know how to explain the effect of that, but that's where we are.
I wonder why they did it that way. I don't know if I don't know if regular show was in the same kind of format or something.
Probably. Yeah.
I wonder if they were just trying to stay to like a formula in order to kind of like have that. But
my God, that is like the longest backing up that truck has done so far.
It's like never not backing up. It's just constantly.
Never not backing up.
That'd make a great, like, I don't know, 2 Live Crew song or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Are they still
okay?
around?
So the other thing is, since you brought up a regular show, I did want to mention that we had said this before, but it's J.G. Quintel created this show. Close enough. He also created regular show. That's why that's why the comparison.
Which I saw like a YouTube video, and sprinkled around the house are Easter eggs for regular show, even though they're
okay, that's. And that's cool, and that's fine. And I never saw a regular show. I remember watching I think I watched like a couple episodes of that, and that was kind of fun and weird. I think that worked. That's a show that worked with the 2, like 12-minute episodes or 11-minute episodes, whatever it was. 11, 12, 13. You never know which one they're going to do, but it's somewhere in that zone. That's why I say 12, because it's the average between 11 and 13. There's something to do with that, but
yeah.
Anyway, oh my God, someone needs to clip the battery from that truck.
I'm about to primal grab a rock and just beat the crud.
Yeah, sure.
Out of this truck.
So the other thing that I'll say is that I think I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of the way that they wanted to go kind of create. Oh, how to explain this? Okay. I don't tend to like when a character seems to be making up a song on the spot that is not actually made up on the spot. It's like when a character's doing something, it's like, I'm making spaghetti, it's long and stringy, I'm making spaghetti. It's like, okay, Why did you put that in? And I think what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to endear us to the character, like, oh, I do that when I'm making space. But the thing is, if you have a 12-minute show, everything in that episode needs to have a purpose. And if you break to do something like that, it's just like, okay, well, I don't need that to make me... And I'm not saying this about this in particular. It's just that kind of a thing. I mean, they did that in Tuca and Birdie as well. That's like one of the kind of annoying things that I had about Tuca and Birdie in the beginning was when two characters are like, yeah, something good happened. They went, yeah, it happened. Ooh, it's good. It happened. Yeah. And like, they're just saying things. And
They're the cheerleaders.
Yeah. And I just don't really know what is... and I understand that there are people that do that in real life. I understand this is supposed to be something that's supposed to endear us to the characters. It feels superfluous to whatever else you're going to do. It's not exactly like, in my head now I'm thinking of times when a character starts singing. Like what popped into my head was Elf, and I was like, singing is a singing telegram and you already set up that Elf likes to sing, and so he's like, I'm singing, I'm meeting my dad and I'm singing, and it's awkward and funny because the thing has been set up this. But if you just all of a sudden jump to a character just singing while they're making like spaghetti, I'm just bringing that up as an example.
Yeah.
And they did it in Adventure Time a lot.
Oh, bacon pancakes.
Yeah, make it bacon pancakes, and so that one is something that has gone on to be like a big thing, and I think everyone wants to have that type of bacon pancakes song. Where that actually, that doesn't annoy me as much because that one also I think fits within the world and fits within the character in a way. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. It's just I think it's a style choice. It's a thing that I feel like I know why they're doing it, but it just doesn't appeal to me. And what they are trying to do is make me sympathize with the character, empathize with the character, or make me see myself in the character. And really, it's just like all you're doing is just doing a thing, and I'm watching, I'm just waiting for it to stop. Is what's happening.
I guess it reminds you of like an annoying coworker or something, or like, I don't know, there's something that brings you to this kind of person who's like, what kind of person sings about their food before?
Maybe, but like, it's not like I don't, like I hum a lot. Like I'll sing a lot as I'm doing things, especially if I'm doing something and I turn on like the fan behind me, like the hood. If I turn that on and it's going zzz, then I'll start like, okay, there's my bass sound. I'll start, I'll start like singing along with the thing, just some stupid, and I'm doing it as a silly thing because it's silent in my apartment, and I have been given this like bass tone, like it's a bagpipes thing that's just like playing in the background. I'm like, all right, I'll just sing along to it, and sometimes
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna act like I wasn't creating a tune for that backing up truck sound.
Yeah, that's a thing that happens as well. And I think that we all kind of do it, but for me, it hasn't been a thing that has endeared me to a character, maybe just because of the way that it's done. It needs to be done in maybe a different way. Anyway, it's just those kinds of things that kind of take me out of it. And it has a lot of those type of moments in it where it's like, I know that this is supposed to be a thing that I'm supposed to get closer to the character, and I just didn't get closer to the character. I don't hate the show, and I think that it definitely has a lot to say about. I think the best stuff that it does in the show is really address. There is a lot of people who are like, man, you go to any of these like beer halls or whatever, and it's just overrun by kids now. And when I mean kid, I mean like kids with kids, right? You have like, it's now, like 30-year-olds who have babies, and they're having like birthday parties for the babies at a beer hall so that they can hang out with their friends. It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you having a party for your baby in this place where I want to go and have a drink and be an adult? And so it's like, okay, beer halls are gone now. Like you can't go to a beer hall because it's just inundated with just kids with kids, adults who want to still have their life but also have the kids. And listen, I get it, but they're just kind of like taking over places. and
talk about all of Williamsburg.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's a thing that it's annoying. So maybe for me watching a show like that, I don't really like it all that much because that's what I'm seeing. It's kind of like I don't really like watching shows or movies about anyone who does anything in finance or anything like that because, all I see are like finance bros. But it has a place, and I think that it is definitely a place for people who are in that position or feel like they would be in that position. Maybe someone who's like, well, I don't have kids now, but I would have kids. And like, how do I like where I'm afraid to have a kid because I like playing video games. I like doing my thing and I don't want to like give that up. The thing is, I don't think adults have been doing that for a long time, been giving up what they like to do. I think now it's just been turned into something that was like, well, I can have everything, and I can go out and say, well, no, just like
it's the people who bring like a baby to a rated R movie. It's like we can still have a regular life and watch rated R movies. We just got to bring our baby with us.
Yeah, and then screaming and like while you're trying to, get into the moment. I told you about that watching. It was a PG-13 movie. The kid was, I don't know, must have been like 6 years old or something. Like I can't remember how old he was. It was single digits, 6 to 8, somewhere around there. And the kid just kept asking, "Why is it doing this? Why is it doing that?" It's just sitting right behind me as I'm watching. Was it Drag Me to Hell or something like that? And I just watching this like fun moment. I had to leave because like, not gonna kick the kid out or whatever. But it really is one of those things where I'm like, all right, I mean, I get like I can't be mad at you. I guess you got your kid, you want to do your thing, but like you can't have a babysitter, okay? I don't know. Like, I don't know what your life is. This is getting into a totally different thing. But it's just one of those where I see now close enough, and it does feel like that term is kind of like they're trying to be an adult. They're trying to have a family. They're trying to be, their college selves and take psychedelics while they still have a, tiny kid in the house and like, or whatever. And they're like, we're doing our best, close enough. We're we're adults, kind of.
I guess I do kind of like that because I feel like a lot of shows already have like either the mom's already fully like an adult, but the husband's always a man child like Homer or something.
Yeah, and the fact that both of them are basically
so I kind of like seeing
children
two characters trying to figure out like, oh God, oh no, we have this kid now. How are we gonna like, but it's still trying to. Because they never actually. As far as the 2 episodes I saw, they don't actually say like, oh my God, we have this kid now. What do we do? It's really just like we have this kid and we also have our life, and they just do both. And sometimes they're in conflict with one another, but it's not like they've made a choice really one way or the other. They kind of, but not really. It's like they're trying to be responsible as best they can. But they just end up being irresponsible, and they're just trying to figure out how to be the type of irresponsible that will, still allow them to have a life, that kind of thing. So that's why I'm saying it has a place, and I think that it's a well-made show. It's just there are things about it that have kept me away from it. And that's kind of the part of, reviewing a show is that's what it did to me, and I have to come at it from my point as I'm in the back half of my 30s, and I don't have kids, and my experience watching this show is like I'm kind of looking at I roll my eyes a bit too much. I look at it like, oh God, But it has things to say where I'm like, okay, I like this, I like what they're doing, and I feel like I would probably still be watching it, even though the topic is not something that I am intimately, personally involved with. I watch a lot of shows that are not me, that are not about me. It doesn't need to be for me in order for me to watch it. I'm just saying that the format is a problem for me. The thing that I wanted from it, it does kind of in a half-ass way, where
because it's splitting up into two parts, and then the show itself has some things that are kind of keeping me away from it. So I'm trying to explain why I stopped watching it, even though I think I would continue watching it if it were just a full show, because I feel like it would have an opportunity to do the things that I am there for, that I am watching it, and that the runtime would not be influenced by, it's basically you're doubling the amount that the making spaghetti, you're doubling the amount that is cutting into my storytelling time. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you did it as a full show, you could have something like that, and it's not taking as much away from the time to tell the story. That's why I think it has taken me out of it to a point where I can't really watch it anymore. That's the best I can explain it.
Almost like there's a lot of moments where they're trying to make it like that the viewer will be like, oh, I do that.
Sure. Which, I think there's a lot of ways you could do that. There's a lot of ways that you could do that. You could also do that while also having something else go on, have it be like a storytelling point. Like maybe he left something on that he wasn't supposed to, and it's, I don't know, whatever that thing is like growing bigger or becoming more of a problem. He's got it back to it, and he's just stirring. He's like, making spaghetti, and he's just singing while something else is happening. You can have it's your cake and eat it too kind of thing. You can have that that's supposed to endear us, and it also works from a narrative standpoint where it's not like this is all I'm watching. I'm also watching something else happen. And if you have a 12-minute show, I feel like you really got to get very efficient with your storytelling, for me, and that's not something that I got as much, so I ended up stopping. So that's my review.
Were you close to watching it, liking it?
It was close enough.
I tried.
Thank you for that. Okay, I don't even know. You know what? We're at an hour and a half right now. You got to get back to work. And I do want to talk about Undone, but I think that's going to be its own show.
Yeah.
I think Undone will be its own show. We'll need to talk about that in its entirety. So, sorry, everyone. I will put this in the post that we're going to say that we're going to talk about Undone, but we're not actually going to talk about Undone. My plans for the show were undone.
I was trying to work.
You're trying to figure it out? Yeah. I could see you smiling with your, like, you had this where your face was paused, and I know that you're not really listening to me, or your brain is running and you're trying to figure out a joke. I am just going to give you a little preview. I loved it. So I really, really want to talk about it in a way that has spoilers. So I really do want you to watch it, Rob. You could do it like literally in one day. It's eight episodes, half an hour each, so you can blast through it. 2 days, 2 hours, or 1 day, 4 hours. You could get through the whole thing. My quick review of it is I stayed away from it for so long because of the style. I don't particularly like rotoscope style, and I didn't really want to see it because of that. I know a lot of people were saying stuff about it. It did look, better than other versions of rotoscope that I had seen. So I was like, okay, I'm intrigued, and I wanted to check it out. I didn't because of the style. I watched it. I loved it. And if this could do anything to you, it would be, if you were listening, if you had any thought about if you wanted to watch it or not, take some time out of this weekend, give it a shot, watch it. If you're not hooked by, like, it's like a couple episodes in, but I'd say, I think it's like the third episode or something like that. I can't remember. I think there's a crazy sequence in episode 2 that I think is just visually very interesting. But if you're not hooked, it's okay. But I do think that it would be more fun. Our episode of my review of it will be more fun, I think, if you watch it. Then you can kind of follow along to everything that we will talk about. And Rob, if you would also watch at least some of it, it would be interesting to see if it captured you to a place where you would want to continue watching it, or at least if you continue watching it, you'd have more to say. So we'll do that. We'll leave it that way. How about that?
I'll get it done.
Great. Close enough.
I gotta go be Primal now.
Gotta prime all your animation to get done. Okay, that's it. I'm actually kind of sad. You know what I was really waiting for? I was waiting for the truck to back up, and just like
I know.
you know, it's a little disappointing that
There is someone screaming outside.
You know what? You know what I will do? I'm gonna
back
put in.
up on him.
I'm gonna download a truck backing up sound effect. I'm gonna put it right here just to see us out. So that'll be it. That's it for the episode. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. Okay, cool. Thanks for the There's no way to go out. That's it. See you the next one.